All right. We're back with
yours truly.
Our esteemed
leader.
leader.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Esteemed leader. No. You guys did a great job in my absence.
Well,
other than ripping.
We were ripping into you a little bit. When you're not here, you get ripped. That's how it goes.
For our listeners, I'm in Colorado taking care of my mother who has dementia and is in memory care. I tune in to listen to you guys and all three of you ladies. I mean, two ladies and a gentleman here.
Yeah.
Ripping into me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look,
Acting like I don't prep for the show, that's the biggest insult. I was like, if you guys think I can cold read anything, then
that's a good point.
I mean, give me credit. If you think I'm cold reading, I'm doing a dang good job.
It's a good point. I do apologize for how nasty your daughters got. I tried to keep them in line, but you know how they are.
Oh yeah. They didn't feel free along with your encouragement, your enthusiasm.
I think this is a tough environment here. You know what I mean?
Is that what it is?
It is. It's dog eat dog, and so if you're not here, you're getting shredded.
Listen,
that's how it goes. And while we appreciate you caring for your mom and what you did is great. What your sister's doing.
What my sister's doing is
day
better.
in and day out is great.
Yeah.
Is incredibly kind and caring and I think godly. But in the Thunderdome here, I mean, you gotta take care of business. And if you're not here, I'm sorry, but I don't know what's going to go down. It just happens.
That's right. Well, no, the girls did a great job. We got lots of comments.
Yeah.
We're going to read a few of those in just a few minutes. But yeah, I think you guys did a great job. And I may need to find a new gig. We may just have the girls now just do the show.
We're evaluating your position on the show.
Thank you.
We're seeing how that goes.
I love that this was my show to start with and that I invited you to join me.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is true. Oh, please. Are you serious? Do you not recall?
It was your brilliant idea to host a podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very unique move. Unique move.
During your governor's race, I wanted us to do a podcast and I wanted you to join me on it. Yeah, and then you were like, no, I'm busy.
That sounds like a great idea. Me popping off while running while they're listening to every little thing and they're just going to clip it and turn it into something else.
Try to morph it into something else.
Gosh,
please.
Yes.
They'll do whatever. But anyway, no. So I do want a little credit for the fact that this was my idea. I said you'd be brilliant at it. It turns out we're doing pretty solid.
You are. Yeah, it's true. We are doing okay.
But I love that now you've invited me and now you're going to review me. It's like I'm the CEO of the company and we're going to have a review and see if we need to keep you on or if we're going to ask you to step down from your role.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. How many CEOs have been bounced when the board decides it's not happening, it's not working anymore?
Wait a minute. You're the board?
Well, look, Ava, Elle, and I are the board of directors. And again, we appreciate the work you're doing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not sure you're where the future is going. We'll see. And again, you're going to have a great chance to, show your leadership and show your ability moving forward.
Wow,
okay?
Thank you. God bless you.
Well, no, yes. God bless you, sir. So let's just see what happens, okay?
Okay, get to the show, guys.
All right, here we go.
What we're going to look at.
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff going on. A little bit of mail to start things off. Interesting issue between sanctuary cities and the law enforcement community that is tasked with protecting them. And we have a story of a city councilor in Los Angeles who wants to go to the LAPD and say, we need you to rat out ICE to tell us when they're coming. And we'll tell you what the LAPD response was. And there's not the same issue, but something along those lines happening in Albuquerque, which we'll get to in a bit as well. Then we're going to take a deep dive on the economy a little bit because everybody is talking about, or at least Trump is talking about, getting rid of Jerome Powell as the head of the Fed. And this is not an economics show, but there are some basic things we started to pay attention to. And part of what we do, other than this show, is real estate, and especially in mountain communities. Well, we're starting to see the real estate market soften a bit. As this is happening, you're seeing Trump more and more say to Powell, you got to cut interest rates. This is, look out. And so we're going to start to talk a little bit about that as well. And it's a big deep dive on what's happening with that, some of the numbers that you should care about because of the economy. And then we're going to get into a little bit of election stuff. And then finally, you have a study that you want to talk about from Harvard, but I think it was really, really interesting. Actually.
Yeah, I think it was an 85-year-old study, if I remember right. And just,
you mean going on for 85 years?
Yeah, it's been going on for 85 years. And it talks about what really is the benchmark for real happiness in people.
Yep.
And I thought it was so fascinating. I wanted to share it with our listeners today. So I clipped some of that to talk about a little bit. So,
all right, lead it with some mail.
Let's start with some mail. This one, this one gets my favorite of the whole time.
Okay.
I was like, geez, Louise, people. Tracy Scott wrote in.
Okay.
Tracy says, I appreciate Ava reading the copy before the show. It drives me crazy when Krysty mispronounces or fumbles over names. Please correct nuclear by the way. Just going to say it like that because that's the way I say it. Pronunciation. Otherwise, I love you guys and listen to every show. Okay, listen, Tracy, if it drives you crazy that I fumble over words and I mispronounce names, well, then just consider yourself lucky because I'm sure you have like a laundry list, Mark, of the things that drive you crazy that I do.
Yeah, let's start
We could do that.
Yeah, let's start with the letter A. So, no, come on. I mean, it's just, Tracy, I understand your point, but I'll tell you this much. Reading clips off the cuff.
It's not off the cuff.
No, I don't mean that. I'm sorry.
I don't read things off the cuff.
Sorry, that's not what I meant. I just mean reading clips in front of people is tricky because there's a ton of them. I have you read a lot of stuff, and there's no way you're memorizing it, and your eyesight is not the best, and you're looking at it off of an iPad. So you do deserve some grace on all this. We were just joking around. And by the way, when Ava said at the time that I'm going to read things smoother than Mom, then she just went and ate it and started chewing up.
I did not.
You did.
I did not. I made one small mistake.
Yes. Well,
and I know how to say nuclear. So I think that those are important things to consider.
Listen, I do. I appreciate it, Tracy. Keep in mind, I have had cornea surgery. I am almost blind legally, by the way, and I have contacts in, but they're the best I can get. So I'm doing the best I can, Tracy. I'm so sorry if that drives you crazy, but I guess you have to take a number after Mark because there's a lot of things I do.
There are a lot of things. Tracy, if you want a list of the true things Krysty does wrong, let me know and I'll shoot you a list. Reading the clips doesn't happen to be one of them. All
right. John Beverly says, great show. Ava and Ella both did great and I enjoyed seeing them. Such awesome young ladies with great intelligence and insight into the things going on in our country.
Oh, very nice.
This was very thoughtful, I thought. Vicky Blather says, I enjoy having your daughters be part of your show today. They were delightful. Debbie, we call our producer Debbie from Minnesota, said, I just finished watching the girls on the podcast. They need to do one a month. I loved it.
Easy, Debbie.
Once a month.
Easy.
Are we going to sign a contract maybe?
Yeah, all of a sudden we're going to start having a union walkout and things like that. Let's calm down.
We might go on strike.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then, this one, so girls, you did a great job though. I did listen and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the comments that came in that were really thoughtful towards our family and our daughters. And I just want to say as her mom, thank you so much for saying those things. Okay, now this one is Bolden the At, I think. I think that's, or Bolden that. I don't know. This is to you, Mark. Mm-hmm. I never appreciated your unwavering support of Trump. But
there are some that would disagree with that assessment.
I know. But still, I have been watching your videos recently and feel we seem to be aligning on some issues. I was a Democrat, but now I find myself more in the middle rather than left or right. I agree with you on this issue of supporting whoever's trying to make a difference and doing the right thing. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I think, I've taken heat on both sides for being too supportive of the president or not supportive enough, depending on who it is. I get it. But go issue by issue. And the only point we made on last week's show is when a leader of a party that you don't happen to be involved in or the party that you, quote, don't like or whatever, when they do the right thing, stop trying to make it the wrong thing and stop trying to jump on the other side of that issue. Support that person, and then I'm sure you can get back to fighting at some other point. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other things politically to be able to fight about. But when people do the right things, support them.
Right.
And that's it. That's all we were saying about that. Okay. So here we go. Let's get to this. First of all, this is a story you pulled on what's going on with ICE in Albuquerque and what the mayor is trying to pull off here. And this is dicey territory. And I'll get into why after you break down what's going on.
Right. So here's the headline. Mayoral candidates spar over Keller's plan to alert public to ICE action. So here's a few of the details. A social media statement posted by Mayor Tim Keller announcing his intention to keep the public better informed about federal immigration enforcement actions prompted an angry reaction Monday from his mayoral opponent, who called the practice, quote, dangerous. Keller announced Friday that the public can call the Albuquerque Police Department to, quote, verify if federal immigration agents are operating in our city. Here's a few more details on that. APD followed up the announcement by issuing a statement saying the federal officials have agreed to share more information with police about immigration operations in the city. Now, Darren White, who's running for mayor and who we've had on this show before, this is what he had to say about this particular thing. He said, responded by asking the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Mexico, Ryan Ellison, to investigate whether the city's initiatives violate federal law. Disclosing information about U.S. immigration and customs enforcement operations could endanger federal agents and the public, White contends. He says, in a quote, I'm very concerned about the police department establishing some type of tip line for people to call to verify whether ICE is working in certain neighborhoods, White said Monday in an interview. Now, Keller's statement said that APD is taking steps to, quote, bring more clarity around immigration enforcement. That's why we've created a new way to verify if federal immigration agents are operating in our city, the Post said. Quote, you can now call APD. APD issued a statement Monday clarifying that the public can call 242 COPS, which is APD's non-emergency number, to, quote, inquire about a specific presence in the city and whether that is an ICE operation.
Okay, here's the problem with this. And what you're seeing is increasingly ICE agents are coming under attack, and you're going to see more and more problems. Some people have been shot and killed because they're attacking ICE agents. This has now been normalized. Parts of the left are saying we're going to do everything we can to try to stop ICE. This is going to lead to people dying. Like it is not it's a terrible idea. And Keller's trying to wrap it in softer language. But what he's hoping to accomplish out of this, it seems, is to be able to try to walk this line of being able to say, yeah, I'm on your side. We're going to try to stop ICE from doing what they're doing. But he knows he can't say that because literally that's obstruction of justice. He could go to jail for it. And beyond that, this thought process that you can try to stand in the way of federal law enforcement because you don't like it as a local official is lunacy. And it is leading to an erosion of leadership, and it's leading to an erosion of authority by people who are elected to lead us. It makes zero sense, and it's dangerous. And Keller, by doing this, again, smart enough to try to walk this line, so he's not, we're going to show you an example of not walking the line, of being just completely bonkers crazy. But this is craziness. This whole approach of trying to say, hey, we're going to step in and try to stop federal law enforcement, it's a dangerous thing to do. It's a permission structure for violence. That's what it is. What you're creating here is a permission structure to people who are mentally unstable that say, oh, well, I can start to take action against ICE. I can do it. They take things from whether Keller has said it or not, or whether other leaders who have said it or not, but they give this tacit permission structure that you can go out and attack federal law enforcement. You can't. And you're going to put other people in danger. And the more often that you decide to make it more difficult for ICE, the more they are going to go into these communities to get the people that are dangerous out of there. And when they go in these communities to get those dangerous people, if there are other people that are here illegally, they end up going too. That's something Keller never wants to address. Because if Keller stepped up and said, let us help you get into our jails and get the people out of here that are here illegally and that have committed violent crimes, get into our jails. Let's work together. That way they're not going into neighborhoods, but they are now. And so Keller is partly trying to walk this line, which I think is a very dangerous line. It's a terrible mistake. I think it's going to hurt him long term. But when you start to see this sort of thing, it's craziness.
Well, and I guess I don't understand, like, isn't the federal funding getting cut? I mean, the more he's not willing to help and participate and just basically like dying on this Sanctuary Hill City policy. Like, I've heard that that's going to be some sort of retraction back on funding.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like how that actually shapes
yeah,
up.
No, there's
and
been talk of it. I
Homan,
haven't seen official numbers
and see what
on
Tom Homan has to say about, hey, the fact I'm going to start letting the public know, and you can call in with your fresh tips. I mean, it's like
it's wild. And so I pulled an example of what this art. So Darren hits back, which I think if Darren's well positioned to make this point because obviously he's been in law enforcement his whole adult life. Tim Keller has presided over the largest explosion of crime in the city's history. So, you've got two very different candidates here, okay? And what Darren is saying in his criticism here is that if you start to create this environment where people are calling and saying, hey, is ICE in this neighborhood? No, yeah, ICE is in that neighborhood. All of a sudden, what happens then? What happens? You are providing a structure to be able to say, go get them. Mm-hmm. Okay? Guess what? They have guns too.
Yeah.
And so when these things start to happen, it's a nightmare. You're putting people in danger, innocent people that want nothing to do with this. You're putting people that are on the mental edge of their faculties. You're pushing them into something that could lead to death. It's not smart.
Well, I guess I don't understand why they would say that that they're even allowing this. Like, what's the benefit
what he's saying,
to the public?
what he's in his broad language is like in our city. Oh, okay, that's broad language. We're talking neighborhoods here. Mm-hmm. We're talking to say, hey, there are four black SUVs in this neighborhood. What's going on? Is APD going to give them the details? Oh yeah, we got an ICE enforcement and 346.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Conroe Lane.
Actually, that's what Medina said further in the story that I didn't clip to put in here. But Medina did. They said, yes, absolutely. I'll call in people will call in. We'll find out what's going on and we'll let dispatch know so they can tell people that call in what's actually happening.
Yeah.
All of it seems crazy.
It's completely and totally irresponsible and weird that Medina's in the middle of something totally irresponsible. A guy who's completely incompetent, right? And Keller at the same way. This is the sort of thing that you keep doing this stuff. And again, these guys can keep walking down this road because they think it helps them. It doesn't. They're eroding support slowly over time as a party over this. Because again, you can say, oh, where are the numbers on immigration and everything else? That's not the point. The point is when you're creating an environment of chaos, with nothing in return. Remember, Keller has no vision of where to go. Keller has no plan to say we're going to reduce crime. We're going to make this city safer, cleaner. We're going to reduce the homeless population. We're going to get people the help they need. He hasn't done any of that. So again, this is a nightmare. And so what it's going to lead to is what you're about to see. This is the Los Angeles City Council meeting. And I want you to listen to Imelda Padilla. She is one of the LA City Councilwomen. And listen to what she asked LAPD for. I mean, this is ludicrous.
I'm asking a creativity question here. What can your department do to do more to warn us, to warn the business community that outside of our LA borders, coming in from Inglewood, coming in from Antelope Valley, I don't know, you can warn us so that we can warn our folks in the spirit of your loyalty to the city of Los Angeles?
So you're asking me to warn you about an enforcement action being taken by another agency before it happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Why not?
That would be obstruction of justice. You may want to talk to the city attorney about that.
Where's the city attorney? Aren't they here? I see her officers. Where's she?
We'll hear from the city attorney after we hear from LAPD. We can revisit it then.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, they're en route. We know they're coming. We know they're coming to bring disruption. There's no way that we can know.
No, I don't know how to even respond to that.
Wasn't she just here? Who took her?
Who took the city attorney?
Where did she go?
We'll come back. She had to attend to some other business, but we can come back. We'll give you the opportunity to ask her that
I need to
question
know.
directly.
Yeah, we don't do that. We're not gonna broadcast for, like, the FBI is looking for a terrorist suspect, say, right? Are we going to tell, hey, the FBI is coming looking for you?
Yeah, but see, there's a difference between
there's
someone's coming because they're going to, go get...
I'm using that as an example, but no, we're not allowed to do that. That would be completely inappropriate and illegal.
Okay. Very similar. I'm sorry, but that's very similar to what's happening in Albuquerque in the language that they're using.
No.
I mean, honestly, there are going to be, at some point, somebody's going to get arrested over this. I just hope no one gets hurt.
I was going to say, or
because
somebody's
it's
going to get killed
completely
over
irresponsible.
it. Yeah.
Because you have a very... Look, we have a great deal of respect for APD. They do incredible work, okay? But Harold Medina, in saying what he's saying on this, it's foolish, and it's dangerous, and it's not wise. And obviously, the mayor and the stuff he does, this stuff is stupid. I mean, stop doing this. You don't get in the way of what federal law enforcement is doing, but just make no mistake. The only difference between what's happening in LA and what the story is that was in the Journal is the language is a little softer here.
It's a little softer. I mean, it's really not. I mean, you basically have a city councilman saying, hey, let us know, you got to warn us so we can warn our people about ICE agents coming in, okay? And he's saying, no, that's a destruction of justice. How is this any different? Like, pretend you're not a city
it depends on what
person.
he does. It depends on what he does and what APD says.
Well,
it depends on how APD handles it.
Oh, maybe we're going to make a secret call then. And we're going to be like, hey, can you tell us
I don't know.
what's going on in this neighborhood right now, and see what they say. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. It is.
If they actually say, yeah, we have ICE agents in the area right now, that is a destruction. Holy cow.
I know. This is, and again, I say this, I don't know if I say it every week on the show, but this has nothing to do with your political party. I mean, this is inviting chaos and violence. It is. It is. And these are people that have no business running either a city or a police department, stepping in and putting other New Mexicans in danger. It just makes zero sense. You don't get to obstruct law enforcement. You don't get to do that. And so I hope this does not happen. I hope that Medina is wiser than this. I hope that the mayor is wiser than this. But I think Darren White is right to go after him. I think it's time we have an adult step in and try to protect the people of this city and of this state. And for too long, you've had people that have either been soft on these issues or work against public safety. And the result is exploding violence. We are the most violent state in the country, and it's not by accident.
Right. It's just we got to wake up, and we got to vote differently. So I hope people are even paying attention to that. And knowing what's going on. I mean, that's our hope. Well,
we'll find out. This is a big mayor's election. We'll see. You got 7 choices for mayor or something like that.
Oh yeah, I think there's 8. I think there's 8 right now. I don't know. But it's
whatever it is, the lot is right.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to take a deep dive. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is a deep dive on the economy because I think it's always, most of the time, it's the single most important issue to most of us, right? And I want to go through something here. So the details on this, kind of interesting. So today, Wednesday, President Trump came out and told GOP lawmakers that he is likely to try to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Okay, now that's a little tricky because he can't just fire Jerome Powell because he's not cutting interest rates. He has to fire him for cause. He cannot just be like, you're not cutting rates, you're fired. You can't do that. Jerome Powell has a 4-year term that he serves. And that term's up, I think, in another year or so. Okay, so a couple details here. It says President Trump told GOP lawmakers that he will likely fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. 2 sources briefed on the matter told the New York Post. Sources confirmed an earlier report by Bloomberg News citing sources familiar with the matter, which said Trump discussed the plan with GOP lawmakers in Congress on Tuesday. An administration insider close to the commander-in-chief, speaking on the condition of anonymity, confirmed the nature of those talks to the Post. They expressed approval for firing him. The president indicated he likely will soon. So here's one other thing. It says it also comes after what one senior administration official branded a deceptive testimony to the Senate Banking Committee on June 25th about the central bank's $2.5 billion Palace of Versailles revamp of its D.C. headquarters. Okay, that matters for a reason. Okay, that quote right there matters. And the reason it matters is because what they're going to do is go after Jerome Powell on the issue of the revamp of the Fed building, right? So they're going to say he's basically incompetent in this and is basically $900 million over budget. Okay, so that's why they're going after him on this, not because that's what they're going to try to use to bounce him, okay. Right? So here's what Trump is really mad about. And I think it is that you've had interest rates that have been 7, 8, 9%, right? Depending on what you're getting the money for over the past couple of years, ever since, remember, Biden spent all the money, the economy overheated, right? He was told don't do it. He did it anyway. Inflation soared, so the Fed had to raise interest rates. It's a common thing that you do to bring back down inflation. Okay, it worked. Inflation comes back down again, okay? And then now Trump comes in and says, we're going to have tariffs and things of that nature, try to bring in some additional money. And then the Fed says, well, that could raise inflation fears again, so we're going to leave rates high. Trump's like, it's not going to increase inflation. Stop it. Bring rates down. So they go back and forth. So over this time now, we're getting to the point where it's tough as a business to get relatively affordable money. It's tough when you're trying to get a house and you're paying far more than you would have even a couple of years ago. So I pulled some numbers on the market here in the U.S. housing supply. Let's start with the supply numbers here. Abe, let's go in just a little bit here tighter on those numbers if you can. And sorry, to the other side, to the left side. And you can see, there we go, perfect. Okay, number of homes for sale is up 12%. Okay, we got 2 million homes for sale in the country. That's up. Okay, newly listed homes is slightly down, but keep on going, Abe. Keep going down here. There you go. Median days on market going up. That is a telltale sign that it's softening. So total number of houses is up. Their duration on the market is up, and the month supply is about a 3-month supply. So let's go back to the demand. What's going on with demand in housing versus the supply? So we move on to the demand chart here, and that demand chart's interesting as well. It's got some interesting data on it. Number one, if you look here, okay, homes sold above their list price. So let's go to that number on the left, and that's down 4%. Okay, so those numbers are starting to come down. Let's go over now. Keep going. Okay, and then homes with price drops. In other words, homes where they had to drop the price to sell it. Okay, that is up 4.5 points. Okay, and then sale to list price, and that's down slightly. So again, these numbers show you, okay, things are starting to soften a little bit. What about in Albuquerque? So in Albuquerque's kind of key zone that we look at for home sales here, okay, a couple different things are happening. Sale price is still going up, okay, which is interesting here in the Albuquerque area, okay? Median sale price is slightly going up and things of that nature. However, what I want you to look down at is new listings and days on the market, okay? That first section there, the bottom two numbers. 2024, we had about 1,400 new listings. 2025, 1,637. So we're starting to see more houses come on the market, and the days on market are starting to increase, right? So you're seeing those numbers start to increase here. And so I think what you start to notice in all of this is with a softening real estate market and the ability to get a hold of money. So I want to go to businesses now. Okay. So here's a little chart on businesses here. What's something we're in the middle of is, getting lines of credit here for work that we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's tough to do. It's not an easy thing to do. Here's a look at the rates, okay? And look how long. Now, remember, we go back to 2020, 2021, we were 3%, 3.5%, right? And then, of course, those rates had to skyrocket to deal with an incompetent handling of the U.S. economy, right? And so now what you see is those numbers that have remained really pretty high over time. So borrowing costs for businesses are still really high. Why does that matter? Because if you're going to rely on growth to build the economy, which is what Trump is doing, it's going to rely on people putting money into the economy. You can't have interest rates at 8.5% for businesses. So he's looking at Powell going, come on, let's go cut rates. And Powell's like, well, wait a minute. I don't want this to skyrocket inflation. And so that's the tug of war back and forth in all of this and why it's happening.
But couldn't he cut it just a little bit to see how it goes?
Well, no, and that's one of his arguments. You cut it a half point or whatever coming up here. I think he probably will in September. Okay, that's I think the next Fed meeting I think is in September. But yeah, and Trump is saying this thing should be cut 2 or 3 points, right? That's what Trump wants to see, because then you would see money flood into the economy.
Right.
You would then see you would see very, very robust investment in the U.S. economy. However, could that lead to an explosion in inflation again? I don't know. We're not economists. I don't know. I'm just trying to give you some basis on why I think Trump is pushing so hard for, hey, cut some rates here, because you don't cut rates. You're just keeping things artificially high. You're keeping people on the sidelines. You're making borrowing money too expensive. You can't move. I mean, we've talked about moving and stuff like that. We talked about, getting a different house, moving to a different spot. And we don't do it because right now rates are 7.5%.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy high.
You can't get as much house for your money.
Right. And then we get back. So one more thing on this, and that is the tariffs. And you talk about, my gosh, tariffs, are they going to lead to inflation? They're not. But something interesting is happening with tariffs. And that is money that's coming into the federal government. For the first time in years, we had a month where we were in the black. And it is because of tariffs. Look right here, June 2025, the U.S. government made $26 billion more than they sent out. Whoa. Okay. By the way, June 2024, $71 billion in the red. June 2023, $227 billion in the red.
Jeez.
$88 billion in the red in 22. 21, $174 billion in the red. 2020 was COVID, obviously. Okay, that's a little different.
You get a pass on that one.
$864 billion in the red. Okay, the last time that we were in the black in a month was 2019. And it was because it was the month of September. It was a big tax collection month. So that for 1 month we did better, right? But then went back into the red. Okay. But this whole thought that, oh my gosh, tariffs are going to destroy the economy, everything else, not founded, at least not right now. So what's interesting is I start looking up clips on this, and CNBC's talking about it all the time. It's really interesting. So here's what they said about the tariffs.
How much we've been collecting in revenues. And I did this in part because Wilfred's here and he can talk about the UK trade deal. But this is the monthly numbers. And they have gone up a lot. June is actually set for another big increase of $27 billion. That is money coming into U.S. coffers from tariffs. We are collecting a lot of revenue. So far, guys, $121 billion has flowed into the U.S. government since the start of the fiscal year. It's still a tiny portion of the overall revenues that the U.S. government gets, but it's increasingly a lot, especially we haven't seen it in terms of the consumer paying off.
Meaning the consumer paying higher prices. We have not seen it.
Right.
Yet.
Yeah, it hasn't trickled down yet.
Yeah. So one of those, I think some of this stuff's really interesting. So when you hear about the Fed thing, Trump trying to be a dictator, I don't think that's what's going on.
Right. Well, you even have the Ken Langone. He's the founder of Home Depot.
Langone, yeah.
Oh, Langone. Okay. Again, my mispronunciation.
Italiano, Langone. I think it was fantastic.
Langone.
He should go with Langone.
Well, I would go with Langone if I look at his name.
Yeah, I know. You would think. But,
or I could do Langon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Lagnon.
Just to bug Tracy out there.
Yeah. Hey, easy on the Tracy. She's a regular listener.
I don't know if Tracy's a guy or girl, actually. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, it's a girl.
Okay. Well, I don't actually know. But anyway. Okay, founder of Home Depot was actually a Trump critic for a while.
Yeah,
on this,
he definitely had his doubts.
And now he's thinking, hey, this might actually be working. Let's give Trump, a little bit of credit here. So let's take a listen to what he had to say on CNBC.
My concern was, I don't like tariffs.
That's what I mean.
I like free trade.
Right.
However, I think, damn it, give Trump credit. His instincts are good. Some of these things need to be fixed. Take Germany. Take Japan. God bless America. 80 years ago, when the war was over, we made our mind up. We're not going to be the conquering hero. We're going to go in and help these countries rebuild themselves. And we did. To our credit, we did. Japanese, Japan, look at what happened. They're on their feet now. There aren't many American cars sold in Germany, but whatever's sold in Germany, there's a 10% tariff. Every other car in America is a Mercedes. I got a Mercedes. I got an Audi. I can name you all the cars we drive. Most of them are foreign. Now, they sell a hell of a lot more cars here than we do there. 2.5% tariff. That's wrong.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I don't hear myself, Ava. Ava, am I okay? Sorry. Okay, thanks, Ava. I appreciate it. So interesting point, which is what we've said before. We get a lot of snide comments when we do this angle. Say, well, American cars aren't any good. Blah, blah. Yeah, they are. American cars are great, and I will tell you, we make great cars. You don't show me the value of a Chevy Tahoe with 50,000 miles on it versus the value of an Audi Q7 with 50,000 miles on it. Go ahead, go do that number for me, because the Audi Q7's like BMW, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the value craters for a reason. So we make good cars in this country, okay? And none of them sell there. So Langone's point is obviously Trump trying to even the playing field here. And I think in general, just kind of an understanding of what he's trying to do with the economy.
Right.
So
and again, I mean, we all love free trade, right? Like when he comes out and says, oh, I would love free trade. Well, wouldn't everybody love free trade? But that's just not the way the world works.
No.
And that's not how they've been treating the U.S. government for years. So I just think
people of America, forget the government.
I just sit here and go, well, why would this not need to be evened out? I guess I've just never understood that.
Right.
I didn't understand until I just listened to this clip that it was really based largely after World War II, and that we're trying to help rebuild countries. I didn't know that part of it, actually. No. So that's kind of fascinating to me. That ended a long time ago.
Right. They're doing okay.
They're hanging in. Doing okay now. So I think we need to even things back up a little bit. So
no, it's very fair. And so we'll see what happens here. I don't know if all this stuff's going to work. I don't know. We never pretend to be economists on this show. We do have people that are smart in the economy occasionally on to kind of set us straight. But I think we just wanted you to know kind of what's going on, underneath all that.
Well, now, so we have midterms coming up here pretty soon. I mean, not right away, but within a year.
Yeah.
And really, I just think that this message, we've been talking about everything from the mayoral election in New York, which that's even going to have a trickle-down effect into these midterms, believe it or not. And even in all this, like, if we oppose Trump strong enough, that's all we got to do as a Democratic Party. And I think what we're seeing is that it's not going to actually cut it when it comes to midterms. They're going to have some more information or a bigger platform or a bigger strategy to really come up in those midterms, right? I think that's kind of the latest.
And some of these numbers are interesting. So we may stop this clip halfway through and comment on it, but Harry Anton talked a little bit about exactly what you're saying. So what happens in the midterms? And where is the Democratic Party? Where is the Republican Party on where things are? Because when you have a president, all the focus tends to go on them. Like, what are their numbers? What are what's going on? But realistically, if you look at what lies underneath, that's what's more important. Do people say to themselves, okay, I may not love everything Trump is doing. However, do I think the Democrats will do a better job? And so that's what's kind of interesting in all this. So let's listen to his numbers.
Bottom line is this: Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. What are we talking about here? All right, the Democrats versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot, the margins. Look at where we are now. Democrats are ahead, but by just 2 points. Look at where Democrats were already ahead by in 2017. They were behind by 7 points. How about 2005 on the generic congressional ballot? Ahead by 7 points, and now they're only ahead by 2 points. Their lead is less than half of where it was in either 2017 or 2005 in July of those years, the year before the midterm election. Yes, Donald Trump may be unpopular, but Democrats have not come anywhere close to sealing the deal at this particular point.
Yeah, wave looks very different.
Yes.
All right, this is the generic ballot test. This is when you test people in the generic question. Of course, the House races aren't generic. There are 435 of them. What happens when you go race by race?
What happens when you go race by race? Well, it's the same idea. Okay, House seat ratings with a GOP president like back in 2005 and, of course, 2017. More net pickup seat chances. Well, last time around, look at that. Democrats were ahead by 33 seats. How about in 2005? Democrats were ahead by 7 seats. What's going on right now? It's actually Republicans. Republicans with more net pickup chances at plus 12, according to the Cook Political Report, when you add in the likelies, the leans, and the toss-up races. So it's not just on the generic ballot where Democrats are behind their 2017 and 2005 pace. It's actually when it comes seat by seat, you see that, at least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything.
Yeah. Okay, what's interesting about that is, and it's a well-known thing in politics, that Democrats need to have a 5+ point advantage on the generic ballot to win the House. That's kind of roughly where it has to be, at least. If it's below that, they're going to lose, exactly what those numbers show. Republicans picking up 12 seats here. What's interesting is, now you've got to remember, and everybody kind of looks at the election of 2024, and you realize for the first time in our lifetimes, there are more Republicans in the country than Democrats. Like, that number has been shifting for 15 years. Democrats used to have an 8-10 point advantage in the country. When Reagan ran, he was 15 points below Republicans were. And Reagan ended up winning, and then that number went, shrunk down because Reagan kind of moved the country right. And then Democrats stretched out the advantage again. Okay. And then now, for the first time in our lifetimes, and again, it makes sense because you have a party right now that doesn't have a message. There is no message. Opposing Trump is not a message. That's not a plan. And so they have to come up with a plan and to be able to say, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So this whole thing of orange man bad doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. Trump's been in political life for 15 years, and so now you look at it and you can't do that. So, and then when you end up and you just take some of these other issues, the immigration issue, all these different issues, and you see that you have a party that doesn't have a plan, these things aren't going to change. You're not going to see a massive. Now, I don't necessarily think Republicans are going to pick up 12 seats. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think you're going to see a wave election for Democrats right now. Now, if they can grab an issue or the economy tanks or something like that, well, then that changes everything, right? Right. But if things kind of just move along and the economy's solid and you continue to kind of fight these skirmishes about various little issues, there's going to be a problem here. And I think you're going to see kind of fight to a draw. And when you're in a presidential midterm, meaning the midterm of your president from your party, and you fight to a draw, that's a massive win. Massive win.
Well, it will be interesting because I think that the thing that we've seen so far from people that are going to be running in our midterms here is on a state level, right, is the argument that is, all the cuts are so bad and we're going to be, we're in precarious times and you need to keep us in office to make sure that things are going to stay solid and we're going to fix things. And, that's kind of the message, the points that we hear from our reps here in the state. I just think, that's kind of what's going to be interesting is what really of all those fear-mongering statements are actually going to come to fruition, right?
Yeah,
so
but the other thing that worries me, though, honestly, just as a gut level thing, I'm worried that we don't have there's not a lot of candidates up for running.
On the Republican side?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I agree.
I'm not hearing, I'll be honest with you, I'm not hearing a lot of names, and I don't think it's great. It concerns me a little bit. I see some of the trepidation. I see some of the concern. And I think there's some really smart people on the Republican side that realize there's some things that need to be done as far as registering voters and doing things on the ground that can help. Because I think there are people that saw how close we got and people that are uninformed look and go, oh, okay, well, that's where I start. And then I'll just keep getting better. Well, that's not how it works.
Right.
And so we saw that in the last election. Like, you're not guaranteed to be within 5 or 6 points. You're not. You got to run a good campaign to get even that close. And then if you can do some other things and they can work out your way, you can win. You can win in this state. You can still win. But there are people I think that are kind of going, I don't know.
Well, because the thing is like, just because things have shifted on a national level, I think what people still are a little hesitant on that actually pay a lot of attention to things in this state is, does that mean New Mexico?
But it has. I mean, we've gone over those numbers.
Right.
The numbers are getting closer in the state.
It's getting closer, but is it this election cycle or is it coming later?
Could it be another one? Yeah,
and
I know.
It's very tricky because Trump still lost here. Yes, he lost by less than he did last time.
He did, yeah.
But he still lost.
He cut it in half.
It's a matter of seeing like.
No, that's a really good point.
I just
believe me, nobody knows like we do.
I know.
Like there are no second places in elections. I mean, there's just no question about that.
And knowing how tight these races could potentially be, it's a lot for people.
Well, they've also gerrymandered the 3 seats in the state. The congressional seats in this state have been the Democratic legislature in the state of New Mexico sufficiently gerrymandered them to the point where it's really tough. So it's tough to go to candidates now and say, we want you to run in Albuquerque, because Albuquerque has been carved out to be a 10, 12 point deficit. You go to CD3, Ledger Fernandez's seat. It's a 15-point deficit. Down south, Gabe Vasquez's seat, he's uniquely, incompetent. However, his seat's been gerrymandered 8, 9 points. So now he'll always be closer than that because he's always going to shed a bunch of votes because he doesn't know what he's doing. But at the same time, he's still holding on to the seat. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Okay, yep. I put this little our last story in just because I thought it was super interesting and I thought it was something that we should all kind of keep in mind. And like we said earlier in the show, I have a family member. I know a lot of people out there have family members that deal with Alzheimer's and dementia. And now that I am facing that in my own family with my mother, it is just a hard watch. And so, and it's really hard, as anybody knows. So I've always taken steps to see what can I do to make sure I lessen my chances of getting those things. Well, this Harvard study, they tracked 724 people for the last 85 years to answer one simple question, and that is, what makes a good life? And I thought this was pretty interesting because basically when I read this, it started in 1938 with 724 men. They only have started this survey with men. John F. Kennedy was actually one of the men they started the survey with, which I thought was kind of interesting. And now it's lasted 85 years, and they have about 60 of those original 724 men still alive that are in their 90s that are still participating in this. And basically what they show is individuals with strong and supportive relationships exhibit significantly lower rates of chronic diseases, including cardiovascular issues, diabetes, arthritis, and just physical and mental health. Okay. They're in better shape. And it said this is what I thought was interesting, that even if you're in a marriage that is high conflict or a loveless marriage, they suffer worse than if you went and got divorced. The belief is that you stay married. If you can stay married and have good commitment with each other, you'll be better off. But if you're in a loveless marriage or a high conflict marriage, they say no. You'll actually live longer if you go ahead and get a divorce.
You pull the plug on that.
If you pull the plug, but it said
that's
here,
noted. That's noted.
Okay, thank you. Noted. But
noted.
However, listen to this.
Yeah, sorry.
It says that, so basically it says living in the midst of conflict is really bad for our health, perhaps even worse than getting divorced. But it does go on to say that good couples could bicker all day as long as they have trusted each other in crisis. Their arguments didn't take a toll on cognition. So basically, if you argue with each other, whatever it is, banter, whatever, but you still trust each other at the core of everything, then you cognitively will still do pretty well, okay? Then he went on to say, it's basically all of this comes down to, it all boils down to relationship is the most key thing in your life to evaluate, to have good health and a good life, right? That's basically how this all boils down to. And I added this because I thought this was pretty interesting, that money, people say, oh, if I had enough money, if I was rich, if I was super wealthy, I would be super happy. Well, actually they say that up to a point of having enough money to meet your basic needs did raise your well-being, right? So you don't want to be stressing about rent and utilities and can I take care of my family? That's different. But once you reach that threshold and you have enough to get by, right? And you're not scraping by every single day, beyond a comfortable threshold, additional wealth actually produce little extra happiness. Now, I might argue that because we've never been in that boat, but I'm like, hey, I don't know. If I could just cruise around and go on trips my whole life, I don't know. I might be a lot happier. But according to the study, that is not actually adding to your happiness. And then it said, people might argue, well, if you're super smart, you make more money, then you're happier. Well, they actually said that's not true, that even the higher IQ ranges, it really didn't have anything to do with if you, again, made more money with a higher IQ, okay? So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Finally, your childhood. and your relationships with your parents growing up actually impacts you in your later life, which I pulled these two. So if you had a really good relationship with your mother, they were associated with having higher salaries, actually $87,000 more a year if you had a good relationship with your mother, okay, in your professional life, and it affected your personal life. And it actually said that conversely, men with poor childhood relationships with their mothers were more likely to develop dementia in old age. I don't know why that is, but that's what they pulled. And then in reverse, okay, if you keep going, talking about fathers, right? Relationships, men with their fathers correlated, if you had a good one, you had lower anxiety, greater enjoyment of vacations, and increased life satisfaction by the age of 75. I just thought that was super interesting. Yeah. And basically it said, if you had great memories of your childhood and good parental relationships, it really does lead to a lifelong source of like strength and happiness and of something to aim for. So I thought it was I thought it was super interesting.
No, and I think that's why we talk about all the time that one of God's greatest blessings to us is the family. And when you take the family and you try to devalue it and say it's not that important, you don't worry about these relationships or don't have kids or it's about me or it's about, I'm telling you, God designed us to live in families. I firmly believe that. And it's not that it's right for everybody, but it does lead to better outcomes. It just does. And so the family should be protected at all costs. And far too often now, I worry that in a government sense, we've devalued the family. We've actually incentivized the breakup of the American family. It's been devastating in a lot of different communities. And so it's important to realize, and this data just shows it, which is that the family is something we need to invest in, we need to pour into, and we need to encourage people to take part in. Because if they do, it leads more statistically to their happiness. And this isn't about anything other than trying to inflict your type of life on me and da-da-da. No, this is about more likely to be happy, because when you're alone or you're living your life for yourself, I don't think that's what God intended for us. I really don't.
And obviously, like even people that are widowed and things of that nature, that their spouses have gone on, it is about being connected in community. So finding a small group or going to a church or a volunteer group or something that you're still staying really active with people. They say that really helps. And obviously, like me studying dementia and Alzheimer's now for the last 5 years or so, been studying up on all this. It is interesting because my mother was single for 40 years, right? And she spent a lot of time alone. And compared to, other people that we know that are older that have each other and have a lot of community, it's just interesting. I'm not saying that was the whole reason that she developed it, because I think there's other things that happened along the way for her. But I will say her lack of community and her lack of a spouse or a partner, I do think it had impact on her. And, loneliness, basically on this too, I didn't clip this one, but they said loneliness was as dangerous as smoking and alcoholism.
I've heard that. Yeah.
For your health. And I don't think that's coming out as any shock to anybody. But anyway, so I guess it means love each other. And if you don't have a spouse, that's okay. Get involved with the community, get in there with other people that you can, and make sure that you connect with other people. I think that's really what their takeaway was from the survey. So
no doubt. Okay. Well, thanks very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. And we will be back with you on Sunday. Again, don't forget to go on to nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com and sign up for our email. And of course, if you have not become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please do that. We're closing in on 15,000. We're trying to get to that number. So we would love your help in doing that. And of course, we'll have a fresh show right out of the oven for you, nice and warm on Sunday.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.